Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Adebola Adedwa. The top stories at this hour. Traders count their losses, call for government assistance after fire raises Idumota spare parts market in Lagos. 22 bodies recovered from boat accident in Niger State. Namibians vote on final day of controversially extended election. And details shortly. Let's begin by telling you that traders are counting their losses after fire gutted the spare parts market in the Idumota area of Lagos State on Friday night. News Center's correspondent who visited the market on Saturday reports that the inferno resulted in destruction of property and goods worth millions of naira. At the scene, people were seen trying to salvage what they could in the aftermath of the inferno. Many of the traders were too distraught to comment, but a few who spoke to our correspondent lamented goods running into millions of naira. They called on the government to come to their assistance in the face of their losses. Olufemi Oke-Osanyintolu, the permanent secretary of Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, noted that the immediate or remote causes of the fire incident were yet to be ascertained. Oke-Osanyintolu added that no casualties were recorded at the incident scene and no injuries were sustained due to the incident. Our correspondent Bernard Akede gives an update.
Another fire in one of the markets in Lagos Island. This time it's Idumota spare parts market, and traders are complaining about the amount of money, the amount of goods that they have lost here. Goods worth millions of naira, from traders selling glue to car parts, boats, screws, nuts, anything at all concerning spare parts lost in this fire. They claim that the fire started from around 8:30 to 9 p.m. Friday night and burned all through the night. They are grateful to the Lagos State Fire Service who were able to make it here on time. Unfortunately, not much could be done to salvage the goods here in the fire. Now they are calling on the government, as many as have done in the past, to see how they can get compensation, because most of them, this is their source of livelihood. It's also a clarion call to the government to find ways to put infrastructure in place so that when fires like this start, it can quickly be put out even before the arrival of the fire. Hopefully these people can get some kind of...
We have not had the authentic one. Why is it that? Why do I say so? It happens in the night and nobody is living there. Just like a plaza. It's a marketplace. It's not a living place. So definitely you cannot hear, you can hear different type of stories. So that's what I can just tell you. I was called sometime around after 9, because there are some people that stays around here even by 8:30. They don't know that anything of such is still happening. So it's something around after 9 that I was called. So definitely it's within that range. Maybe between 8 or 8:30 or 9. But that's what, that's not that we heard of it.
What are you selling here?
I'm selling engineering.
Okay. And where is your store now? Can we see your store now? Let me see let's see what the fire did to your store. Around what time did you hear that this place was on fire?
Around
after 8 yesterday. And did anybody tell you what caused the fire? How much do you say is how much can you say the worth of things now that you have lost here? More than 8 million. The market leaders, have they said anything just yet?
To update on the Niger State boat accident, where 22 people have been confirmed dead in the boat accident that occurred in Agay local government area of Niger State. Now, several persons were reported missing on Friday after a boat capsized along the Dambo-Ebuchi section of the River Niger. This, according to Abdullahi Babara, Director General of the Niger State Emergency Management Agency. Babara said the boat, which was sailing from Kogi State to Kacha Market in Niger, had about 50 passengers, mostly women, on board. He added that 18 out of the deceased passengers were from Kogi, while 4 were residents of Akwano community in Agay local government area. The major opposition parties have faulted President Bola Tinubu's frequent travel abroad. According to them, the president is more interested in globe-trotting than addressing pressing issues in the country. But the presidency said a leader who sought to bring foreign investments couldn't afford to sit back when the harvest was out there. In the past 18 months in office, Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima have embarked on 43 trips across 28 countries. The president is currently in France for a state visit. And commenting on the trips, the National Deputy Youth Leader of the PDP, Timothy Osadolo, described Tinubu as a globe-trotting president. Osadolo wondered why the funds spent on such trips could not be put to good use to salvage thousands of jobless Nigerian youths. And to talk more on this, we're joined by public affairs analyst, and that's Chide Ojo. Good evening. Glad to have you join me on the news.
It's my pleasure. Good evening.
All right, let me kick off by asking what you make of the president's trip abroad. Do you think it's one too many, or do you feel it's indeed justifiable?
To me, it is justifiable. It's like looking for daily bread. You don't sleep in your house and pray for daily bread to come and meet you on your bed. You need to reach out. If you are self-employed, you have to go out, hustle, and who knows, you may be in luck, and you have your problem solved. Nigeria is like that hustler. You don't stay in one place hoping to have manna fall from heaven. You have to reach out. The world has become a global village. International summits, state visits, and all other forms of collaborations and networking is desirable, provided it's going to yield positive results. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And the fact that we are spending perhaps billions of naira to fund these state visits, yes, it might be bad, mind-boggling, but we need to look at the bigger picture, which is foreign direct investment. As the last count, the administration is claiming, even though this cannot be independently authenticated, the administration is claiming that they have received over 30 billion foreign direct investment in the last 18 months. If that is true, I think over time we are going to start seeing the multiplier effect of that when those factories, industries, companies start citing their businesses here, or when we start seeing foreign direct investment portfolio coming into the country.
Mr. Ojo.
So I will not join opposition party to castigate the presidency. Just that I will say they need to err on the side of caution. The same day as the president went to France, that same day Vice President Kashim Shettima went to Côte d'Ivoire. I think they need to coordinate better. If the president is going out, let the vice president, who is the number 2 citizen, be at home. And vice versa.
Mr.
To
Ojo,
have the two of them out of the country at the same time is what I will not appreciate.
Mr. Ojo, just to chip in there, talking about the need for caution, I mean, how do you situate the concerns of people that these trips are being funded by taxpayers' money? Do you think there's a need for transparency on funds allocated to such trips?
Of course, I do agree about the transparency and accountability of this. But don't forget, my sister, every year huge sums of money are budgeted for travels. I mean, billions of naira. I think by next week, when the 2025 budget is presented to the National Assembly, you are going to see how much will be budgeted for overseas travels and local travels. It's not about knowing, it's about whether there is value for money. Because one thing is for you to know that 50 billion or 10 billion will be spent on travels, foreign and local. The most important thing is that what is the benefit of this funds being spent? Because as the number one citizens and the number two citizens, you don't expect them to be funding this state visit and international meet from their own private purse. It's not done anywhere. Even in other advanced countries, it is the states that fund such, unless they are going on private visits or family visit. Even at that, when they go on vacation, they still have the privilege of using state resources. But I think Nigerians should be more bothered about what are the low-hanging fruits that we can see as benefits of these travels. Do we have better security, healthcare system? Do we have gains, palpable and visible gains from these visits? I think Nigeria should be more concerned about that.
Now, talking about...
Yes, we do know, and as I said, we do know what is budgeted in the annual appropriation law, but we need to quantify that vis-a-vis whether what we spent is commensurate to what we get back in terms of trade and investment opportunities.
Mr. Ojo, just to follow your train of thought, you talked about benefits or value for money, I should say. What are the likely benefits or results of all these trips abroad by the president?
I mentioned it earlier. There's a claim, and I think it has to be fact-checked by the media, that over 30 billion worth of foreign direct investment has been attracted into the country. We have seen them in photo ops and some footages of memorandum of understandings that have been signed with different countries, even with France, which is the latest trip that the president went. We have seen some form of collaborations, closer ties. I was just, before I came online, I was seeing on the scroll bar of one of the TV stations, Governor of Enugu State, Peter Amba, appreciating the president for these foreign trips, particularly to France, talking about closer ties and trade and investment opportunities this will attract. And don't forget that each time the president travels out, more often than not, he goes with some ministers, he goes with some state governors and key stakeholders. There have been some of these trips that we have our business moguls also been on those trips. For instance, the UN General Assembly that was held this August and this September, we have a very large contingent that went there. And there are bilateral and multilateral meetings that are held. The point is that we need to be patient. Rome isn't built in a day, or was not built in a day, so I should say. The most important thing is to follow through. When there are memorandum of understanding, I think the media and civil society needs to track that. Okay, you signed this memorandum of understanding over 1 year ago. Can we have, what are the follow-up actions that are taking place in that period of time? Can we start seeing low-hanging fruits that we can point to as having been the positives from some of these foreign trips? No doubt it's not an empty purse for us, but it needs to be properly documented so that Nigerians will start to see in clear terms what are the benefits. It's not all about trade and investment. Sometimes it's also to go and sort out some issues in a diplomatic manner. Recall the very recent visit the president paid to Saudi Arabia. It was to join forces to call for world peace, particularly between Israel and Hezbollah, Israel and Gazans, Israel and Palestine, and Israel and Lebanon. Maybe I should put it that way. So that one is not about trade and investment. That one is about joining, aligning your voices to call for world peace, to call for resolution of conflict. Sometimes it's just to show there have been visits to kind of show.
I'm afraid we have to leave it there, Mr. Ojo. I'm afraid that's the most we can take for now regarding that subject matter. Thank you so much indeed for your insight on the news. Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst. Many thanks indeed.
I should wish you happy new months in advance. Keep safe and compliments of the season.
I wish you the same. We'll take a short break now. When we return, Atiku Abubakar hosts Peter Obi in Adamawa State. Details shortly. Join us. Thank you for staying with us. A former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, recently hosted the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, at his residence in Adamawa State. Atiku shared the news on a video posted on X.com captioned, "It is breakfast time with my friend, #Peter Obi in the land of beauty." The video showed both leaders dining together, marking another meeting since the 2023 election. Earlier this year, Obi had visited former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido and former Senate President Bukola Saraki in Abuja, his first meetings with former allies after defecting from the PDP to LP in 2022. At the meeting, Obi's campaign spokesman, Yunusa Tanko, revealed that the discussion centered on rescue Nigeria from the ruling APC. This latest gathering highlights ongoing dialogue among Nigeria's political leaders. In the meantime, the national chairman of the Labour Party LP, Julius Sabure, has appealed to the party's 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and Abia State Governor Alex Oti and other aggrieved members to return to the party. Abure, who faced opposition over his re-election during the controversial Nnewi Convention, has been reaffirmed as Labour Party's chairman by a federal high court in Abuja. In response, he has sought to rebuild trusts with party stakeholders. Obi, Oti, and others had earlier established a 29-member caretaker committee led by former Finance Minister Nnedi Usman to oversee new executive elections. Abure has debunked claims of a crisis, insisting the court's ruling solidifies his leadership and resolves dispute, emphasizing the court has said there is only one leader in Labour Party. He, however, called for unity within the party. The influence of Lagos leadership on Nigeria's politics cannot be overstated. As the economic hub of the country, Lagos plays a vital role in shaping national policies and agendas. The next governor of Lagos State will not only determine direction of the state, but also have a profound impact on the country's political landscape. News Central's Igbalani Yomoni samples opinion of residents as names begin to emerge in contests for Lagos' #1 seats.
Lagos State plays a pivotal role in Nigeria's overall political landscape. As the economic hub of the country, Lagos State is a crucial contributor to Nigeria's GDP, accounting for approximately 26.7% of the country's total GDP and over 50% of non-oil GDP. The state's political landscape has a ripple effect on the country's economy, with major industries, financial institutions, and trade activities concentrated in Lagos. Consequently, there is intense interest in its leadership.
This is the Lagos State Assembly, and the man at the helm of affairs here, the Speaker of the Assembly, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, has been touted to be one of the successors that will take over from Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Another interesting candidate is someone dubbed the Silent General in the presidency's circle, the president's son, Seyi Tinubu.
The conversation surrounding the 2027 Lagos State governorship election is already generating reactions. Is it not, however, too early for these discussions?
It's too early to talk about 2027 election. It's too early. Let Nigeria discuss much important thing now than 2027 election. Because what is holding Nigeria now, all of us, we are hungry. Even if they self will know who will be governor in 2027. Forget this, they are just doing this cause Sakama Gem.
there's no time that is not right for anything that has to do with how you network yourself to a political position. You know, it depends on the people, on the person who is in charge, because there's a lot of groundwork you need to do, even though it's not in a public space. They play politics on daily basis. You know, they network on daily basis. You understand? So it is when it becomes a timetable. That's when we know, okay, this is a political era.
Public opinion is also divided on the suitability of these proposed candidates as Lagos governor.
My reservation is that will he be bold enough as a governor of Lagos State to distance himself from his father's influence and cronies and political associates and be totally independent to liberalize Lagos? That's what Lagos State needs.
During Fachola regime, Tinubu was Lagos State governor. When Ambode was Lagos State governor, Tinubu was Lagos State governor. As Sanwo-Olu has come in as Lagos State governor, Tinubu is the one in charge. I don't know, Lagos State is not his father's compound or kitchen. So Tinubu should go and rest. Yeah, if you mention Obasa, is a man that doesn't consider the foreigners. He has hatred for foreigners. I don't want to mention tribe. Irobo, Efik, Hausa, everybody are here. I don't want to mention tribe.
Names that are coming up to govern Lagos, they are all qualified in terms of eligibility. But the question is, if we get it right as a people where election results count, will they win?
While Sheyi Tinubu has yet to comment on these despite endorsement by some groups, the Speaker, Mudashiru Obasa, seized the opportunity of the 2025 Lagos budget presentation to address the matter.
Let me state it on the before people here. Our intention is to promote our party on the platform of mandate. Also, becoming governor is secondary. It is something that I have not given a serious consideration. Nevertheless, that does not mean I am too young or lack experience to run. I do not need local validity to contest or run. If I officially am contesting, I will do so from my dignity.
Some youth groups and opposition parties have also begun to react to these developments, while other Lagosians believe that attention should be more focused on electoral process.
If these are working, I don't think attention will be shifted to 2027. That is like 2-3 years ahead. For me, that discretionary power given to INEC by Electoral Act is a misplaced one. We need to amend the Electoral Act to say INEC must transmit election result electronically. As that result should be null and void. And to get to that level, we are not ready. We are not yet serious as a people, because we must reduce the level of human interference with the process. We are saying that yes, this is our country. This is the problem that's confronting us, and we are saying that INEC is not responsible enough to parade such discretionary power. For me, they should be stripped of that discretionary power.
Despite the next election being 3 years away, residents acknowledge that the battle for Lagos will be intense and the outcome will have far-reaching consequences for the state and the country. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Igbalani Omani.
The Belts Forum, MBF, has reiterated its call for the restructuring of Nigeria, highlighting the marginalization of minority groups under the current system. MBF's national president, Dr. Bitrus Pogo, represented by Emmanuel Alamo, made a statement at a two-day symposium on restructuring held in Kaduna State. The event, organized by the Rebirth Group, brought together various ethnic groups, including Ohanese Ndigbo and Afenifere. Pogo emphasized the historical exclusion of the Middle Belt from key decision-making, stressing the need for restructuring to address marginalization and inequality. Participants at the symposium agreed that Nigeria's current structure is failing, recommending the reorganization of the country into regions with more autonomy and a parliamentary system of government. The symposium also featured contribution from diaspora participants and experts on federalism and economic restructuring. And to wrap that conversation, we're joined by public affairs analyst in person of Martins Lumba. Good evening. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Good evening.
All right. What are your thoughts? I beg your pardon?
I said it's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on the Middle Belt Forum calling for restructuring to prevent minority groups from being marginalized?
The way I see it, if we want to move forward as a country, we need to address all the inequalities that are very, very obvious for even the blind to see. Clearly, the Middle Belt Forum has every right to advocate for restructuring like every other part of Nigeria has at one point or the other advocated. It has become more urgent now. It's the realities that we're seeing with the kind of skewed appointments that happened in the last government of President Buhari, and now the kind of skewed appointments that we're seeing under Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. If we want to be honest with ourselves and if we want this country to make progress, we have to run the country as an all-inclusive entity. Clearly, many people are operating from the fringes, you know, and that will not augur well for the betterment of the future of Nigeria. So to that extent, I believe that the Middle Belt Forum is on course.
When you say that we need to include everyone to run, you know, Nigeria as an entity, what do you really mean by that? When you say all-inclusive?
The way it is, with the present structure of Nigeria, it will be very difficult for an Ishekiri man to become president of Nigeria. If a big ethnic group as the Igbo nation cannot give us a president with all the effort that they put in the last presidential election, we all saw what happened. So you can imagine a thief man or whoever. The last person that went there from the Middle Belt was General Yakubu Gowon.
Apologies, Mr. Lumba. Sincere apologies, Mr. Lumba. Sincere apologies. Kindly hold your thoughts. I understand we have to take a short break now. We'll get back to you very shortly. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have our guests to speak with us, and that's Martin Lumba, Public Affairs Analyst on the system of government in Nigeria and the call by the Northern Leaders Forum. You were sharing your perspective on how we can ensure an inclusive government in Nigeria. Please proceed.
Yeah, what I was saying was that the last person from the Middle Belt bloc to rule Nigeria was General Yakubu Gowon. And the dynamics of power as at the time he became head of state compared to now, I can assure you, and everybody can attest to the fact that Nigeria has completely, what is the word now? Completely, deviated from the cause of the founding fathers. It will be very difficult for a minority to rule Nigeria now unless we address all of the issues that have to do with inequality, that have to do with marginalization, that have to do with, what is the word now, quota system and all whatnot. I think we all have to compete on basic rules that everyone can agree to. That is the only way forward that will guarantee peace, that will guarantee unity, and that will also guarantee progress.
I mean, having said that, we have seen different calls for Nigeria's system of governance to be, changed to a parliamentary system. Do you feel really there's a need for Nigeria's system of government to be changed to a parliamentary system of government?
With the way we have been running government in Nigeria, military, parliamentary, presidential, the reality is that it is not really about the system that we run. It is about the caliber of individuals that take leadership position in Nigeria. I can bet you that if we have leadership rights, by whatever configuration we run Nigeria, everybody will feel the impact of government and governance. With the way it is now, we have completely lost it, and we really need to confront the issues as they are. We don't need to beat around the bush. Clearly, we have derailed, and we need to run a very transparent government, an all-inclusive government, a sincere government, a government that carries the people along, not a government that will just do things. You wake up one morning, you hear that there has been a road, you never heard about bidding, you never heard about. The rules are very clear. even for bidding process in Nigeria. We already had, I don't know if it's still existing, the due process office. And for some reasons, from Muhammadu Buhari's time to now, we haven't really heard anything from there. And if we continue like this, clearly there will be an implosion. So it is not really about the system, it's about the caliber of people that, take authority, that govern. What we have now are just a bunch of very unserious people, sorry to say.
When you say it's the caliber of people we have at the corridors of power, how then can we ensure we have, so to speak, round pegs in round holes in government?
Okay, the reality that we now face is that we have moved from impunity to what I can call insanity. The crave for power without following the rules, without abiding by the rule of law. You say these are the rules by which we're going to conduct an election, and for some reason, just flagrantly like that, you disparage, you just throw all of those rules aside. That is a big problem. And I can assure you that if we continue like this, we're really, really going to have it tough going forward. So for me, I think that with all the technology that we have brought into to bear, look at the last election in Edo, look at the election in Ondo, look at the election in Imo, the previous one and the last one. And you begin to ask yourself, what for goodness sake is going on? You have beavers, you have your, what is it called now? You say you have to transmit results to a place, and for some reason, we have all seen elections that have taken place elsewhere, whether it's India, whether it's South Africa, whether it's the United States of America. Clearly, we have to adopt something else that is bigger than the transparency, and I think I call it the issue of consequence. If there is no consequence for all of the rubbish that we keep on witnessing every day, we can never get out of this quagmire. So I think that there has to be consequence. And people must know that 30 years down the line, we're going to revisit all of the nonsense that took place in 2023. If they are conscious of that fact and that reality, I assure you there will be a rethink. There will be, for instance, what I mean basically is that most of the people that restrain themselves in religion to say they are not going to commit sin, it is because they know that there's a consequence. They have been threatened, or if you like, assured that there's a place called hellfire. And those who embrace faith, they embrace faith because there is a promise, there is a consequence that there is heaven. So if in our own system, we make it known to all of the politicians that you can do whatever you want to do, but 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, we're going to revisit all of these issues because the facts are clear to everybody. They will have a rethink, and I'm sure they will behave more appropriately because cameras don't scare them, police people don't scare them. In fact, police actually abet some of the crimes that we're complaining about. So the best thing is for us to hold on to consequences that are very dire.
And that's a fine place to wrap up. Yes. Many thanks indeed. We have to leave it there. Public affairs analyst Martins Lomba, many thanks indeed for your expertise.
Thank you.
Former Minister Fani-Kayode has alleged that private sector elements are trying to undermine the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and its achievement in resurrecting the Port Harcourt refinery. Fani-Kayode, in a post on X, said the refinery's rehabilitation is a significant victory for Nigeria, and credit should go to the president and the NNPC's managing director, Mele Kyari. Fani-Kayode described the revival of the refinery as one of the most promising developments in Nigeria's petroleum sector in years, crediting the achievement to President Bola Tinubu and the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL. He urged Nigerians to support the NNPCL refineries and the new private sector players, promoting healthy competition and progress for Nigeria. Energy experts in Nigeria have raised concerns over the implementation of the nation's compressed natural gas policy, calling for critical assessment. They describe the policy as ambiguous and lacking legislative backing. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, tells us more.
The introduction of compressed natural gas as an alternative fuel for transportation has been seen as a cheaper option to the high cost of petrol in Nigeria. However, there are ongoing concerns regarding its safety, accessibility, and affordability. where some experts say that the implementation of the current CNG policy has unrealistic objectives.
In October 12, 2023, when this policy was inaugurated, they set a target of 55,000 CNG-enabled CNG kits to be deployed, 11,500 CNG-enabled vehicles. Where are we? Have they ever been to the National Assembly, to the Committee of Gas and the Senate, or have to present a report of how they have operationalized this?
The presidential initiative estimates that we will have 150,000 units of vehicles using CNG by the end of this year. I do not think that we are anywhere near that figure.
While citing examples from countries that have embraced cleaner energy alternatives for a sustainable future, experts say that there is a need for the executive branch of government to engage more with the legislative arm.
It's part of the responsibility of the legislature in their oversight assignment to ensure effective oversight of this sector. Two, enact legislation or amendment 61 to ensure that they aim at discouraging unsustainable consumption and production activities.
It is clear that policies centered around energy security, cost-effective transportation, and environmental stewardship must be at the forefront of our legislative agenda as we continue to strive for a future that is economically sound and environmentally sustainable.
The consensus among policy experts here is that it is crucial for the executive to constantly involve the legislature in any policy initiative so as to ensure a sustainable energy future for Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Coming up, Namibians vote on final day of controversially extended election. Details shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying with us. Namibians have voted on the final day of a controversially extended election following chaos and allegation of foul play. The electoral authorities extended the presidential and legislative polls after technical failures on Wednesday led to long queues, some of which voters abandoned. Opposition parties have raised concerns about voter suppression, citing strong turnout among the ruling party's rivals. Electoral Commission head Petros Sharma confirmed that provisional results will be available after the final polling station closed at 9 p.m. On Saturday, hundreds queued at the sole polling station in Windhoek, where around 2,500 had voted by Friday. Voter Silfred Goaseb criticized the arrangements, suggesting additional polling stations were needed in areas where most Namibians live rather than just the central business districts.
It was so nice and I feel so good, and you need to understand what we are voting for to upgrade our country, so stuff like that.
I feel very positive. I'm very excited. It's the first time I'm voting, and we were very disappointed when we couldn't get through the process on Wednesday. So this was a very positive process, and everything happened so quickly, and it's very...
The federal government increases MSMEs loans to 5 million naira at 9% interest, aiming to boost business growth. Meanwhile, Kisumu Port in Kenya sees a surge in cargo volumes driven by Uganda's infrastructure project. Perpetual Fasmi Peter has more.
In business, the federal government of Nigeria has increased the loan limit for micro, small and medium enterprises from 1 million naira to 5 million naira offering funds at a 9% annual interest rate. The initiative, part of the 200 billion naira Presidential Intervention Fund, aims to promote business growth and economic development. The loan will be available for 3 years without collateral, helping small businesses overcome financing challenges and creating jobs nationwide. Olashupo Ulusi, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Bank of Industry, made the announcement during a town hall sensitization on the federal government's grant and loan scheme in Lagos, Nigeria. And still in West Africa, Ghana's public debt increased by 46.8 billion Ghanaian cedis to 761 billion Ghanaian cedis in October 2024. This is according to the Bank of Ghana's latest data. In dollar terms, the debt fell by $4.2 billion to $27.9 billion. The external debt dropped by 52.6 billion cedis to 453.7 billion cedis, while domestic debt rose to 307.3 billion cedis. The total debt now represents 74.6% of Ghana's GDP, with external debt remaining around $30 billion since early 2024. In East Africa, Kenya's Kisumu port has seen a significant increase in cargo volumes, largely due to infrastructure projects in Uganda. The port, which previously received few vessels, recorded notable growth in 2021, handling 50,000 tons of exports and 1,950 metric tons of imports. In 2023, it reached a milestone with 115 vessels and a total cargo throughput of 127,745.2 metric tons. And on the foreign scene, financial markets were active during the Thanksgiving shortened week, with U.S. stocks reaching record highs, driven by strong technology sector performance. Treasury yields declined and the dollar weakened after 8 weeks of gains. Wall Street reacted positively to President-elect Donald Trump's choice of Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary, signaling optimism for business-friendly policies. Analysts hailed the peak as what the market desired, expecting potential economic boost from the incoming administration's pro-business stance, especially in trade and taxation. And finally, U.S. online shoppers spent $10.8 billion on Black Friday. This is according to Adobe Analytics, marking a 10.2% increase from the previous year. This marks the beginning of the holiday shopping season, with e-commerce giants benefiting from the surge. Top sellers included makeup, skincare, and tech products like Bluetooth speakers. Sales of toys, jewelry, and appliances spiked dramatically. In a separate report, Salesforce reported a 7% rise in online sales on Friday to $17.5 billion, with a significant increase in home appliances and furniture purchases. And that's a package on business news at this time. Many thanks for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly.
Up next is Sport News.
The Lagos Seasiders handball team edged out Sunshine Kings in a 24-21 victory. Both teams started strong, but the Seasiders capitalized on their chances, while the Kings missed key opportunities. Elsewhere in the men's category, the Benue Buffaloes dominated the Adamawa Warriors 44-36. The Warriors, coming off a loss to safety shooters, struggled to find their footing. Meanwhile, Rema Strikers earned a walkover win against Confluence Stars. In the women's games, league leader Safety Babes crushed Imo Grasshoppers 43-24, marking their third straight win. Rema Queens beat Delta Queens 31-26, while defender Babes overcame Coas Babes 35-30. In the matchday 15 of the Nigeria Premier Football League, Lobby Stars managed to claim all 3 points at home, as a single goal from Peter Ona was enough to secure the maximum points against Kwara United. The win takes Lobby Stars up to 16th position on the MPFL log with 16 points, while Kwara United remained 7th with 20 points. The other game saw regulation-threatened sides Bendel Insurance and Plateau United lock horns. Bendel Insurance claimed the 2-1 win against Plateau United. Uche Collins grabbed the first goal in the 6th minute. Victor Dawa scored the equalizer for the visitors in the 25th minute, but the second-half goal from Kayode Oke in the 66th minute sealed the win for the home team, Bendel Insurance. In the La Liga, Las Palmas claimed the surprise 2-1 victory at the league leaders Barcelona on Saturday, spoiling the hosts' 125th anniversary celebrations. Sandro Ramirez sent the visitors ahead early in the second half, Rafinha scored an equalizer, but Fabio Silva struck to claim 3 points and take his team up to 14th. Barcelona still lead champions Real Madrid by 4 points, but Los Blancos, who host Getafe on Sunday, have played 2 fewer games than Hansi Flick's team. The Catalans have now gone 3 games without a victory after a run of 11 wins in 12 games in the top flight. Switzerland have unveiled the mascot for the 2025 Women's European Football Championships, a St. Bernard puppy dog called Madly. The Euro 2025 mascot interacted with children at Geneva's main railway station before strolling through the city. The mascot's name is inspired by Madeleine Ball, the first ever licensed female footballer in Switzerland. A player in the youth ranks at FC Sion, she received the license in 1964, but the following year, aged 12, the authorities revoked it when they realized they had unknowingly issued it to a girl. The mascot, wearing number 25, took the train from Geneva to Zurich to make a bow at the stadium where Switzerland were beaten 6-0 by Germany before its 17,306 fans, a record attendance for a women's match in Switzerland.
Ça m'a surpris, mais honnêtement, je peux dire que je suis très fier parce que c'est un sacré cadeau qu'on me fait. Parce que ça, c'est pas un aboutissement, mais mon histoire a débuté il y a 60 ans. Et 60 ans après, on m'offre la possibilité ensemble de reconnaître tout le parcours de ces soixantaines d'années. Moi, c'est génial. J'ai commencé, il n'y avait pas du tout le football féminin n'existait pas. Ça a commencé. Et puis aujourd'hui, vous êtes là et à la presse, les matchs de l'équipe nationale, ça passe à la télé. C'est vrai qu'il y a un grand... Et puis, je dis toujours, si ces petits-enfants qui étaient derrière moi, là, tout à l'heure, qui disent à leurs parents, je veux jouer au football, les filles, les parents leur disent oui. Tandis que quand moi, j'ai commencé, j'ai eu des parents, je dirais, géniaux. C'est pas parce qu'ils sont plus là, je dis ça, mais sérieusement, ils m'ont laissé jouer. Alors que j'avais des copines de classe qui jouaient comme moi au football, et leurs parents ont dit non, tu fais autre chose, mais tu ne fais pas du football.
And that's a wrap on Sport Update. I am Udoka Njoko.
And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Traders have been counting their losses and seeking assistance from the government after Friday's night fire at Idumota spare parts market in Lagos. In Niger State, we told you that 22 bodies have been recovered from the boat accident there. We also told you that Namibians have voted on the final day of the controversially extended election in the country. You can watch News Central live on the STV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Abo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adibola Adidube. It's bye for now.